Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning to all the audience. My name is Mohammad Zulikrami bin Muhammad Jafri, a student from Department of Landscape Architecture and Environmental Design. Today, I'm going to present on the topic on my research proposal on the topic of a study on open space policy implementation from landscape architect point of view. Audience, what is open space? Open space can be defined as one of the social infrastructure required in any housing development. It also improving environmental ecosystems, also as a focus point area for recreation. And open space also play a role as a social cultivation center among the society. So the first issue is touch on the importance of open space provision. Open space are often used for the purpose of covering areas of surplus in the plan. This is happened because open spaces are considered not essential in planning. It has become a commonplace for developers to provide slope, which means space left over after planning. The second issue is on the relevance of existing policy. National Landscape Policy vision targeting on transforming Malaysia into the beautiful garden nation by the year of 2020, and nowadays we have already reached the year of 2020. So what are the status of the National Landscape Policy? There are three problem statements related to the open space policy implementation. The first one is policy compliance constraint. There are no legal act and law to comply with the term of the open space policy. The second problem statement is on the misunderstanding on the open space concept. Developers, local authorities and other consultants seems not aware of the open space importance. And the third problem statement is protect and provide open space for future. The demand of the open space provision nowadays is high due to the population growth in the country is increasing. The aim of this study is to study open space policy implementation from landscape architect perspective. So to achieve this aim, the first objective are to study the role of landscape architect in regulating open space policy. The second objective is to investigate the problem faced by landscape architect in implementing open space policy. And the last objective is to suggest practical solution for the purpose of open space policy in future implementation. Literature review made on the open space definition is to get the overview on the differentiation of open space term from the public up to the government level on the understanding of the open space term. The second is on the hierarchy of open space. It is to get the current issues regarding open space policy in fulfilling open space demand. And the third review on the policy implementation problem. It is to elaborate the repetitive issues faced by landscape architect in Malaysia. Due to the pandemic of COVID-19, there are several restrictions on the methodology used by the researchers. The methodologies are the questionnaire survey and phone interview. Based on both methodology, it is to get a qualitative data used to understand and interpret social interaction from a smaller number of group studied, which is targeting on landscape architect in Malaysia. The first questionnaire survey method is to interpret landscape architect perspective regarding the challenge they face, and then to reveal the best landscape architect perception in relation on open space provision. The second method is throughout phone interview. So this method is used to investigate collective opinion from landscape architect and then to know the best option of open space policy implementation. So the next topic is the research finding. So the finding is analyzed based on the objective of the study. There are three components related on the role of landscape architect in regulating open space policy. The first is address policymakers and related body. Second is media approach, and the third one is public acknowledgement. So based on the result of the finding, there are 82% of landscape architect agreed to address policymaker and related body to regulate the open space policy, while 80% of landscape architects agreed to use a media approach as their role in regulating open space policy, and there are 20% of them disagreed with this method. And then 58 of landscape architects agreed to acknowledge the public on the open space provision and the open space importance, and the rest of 42% of them disagree with public acknowledgement. So these are the analyzed results based on the second objective of the study, which is to investigate the problem faced by landscape architects in implementing open space policy. There are 50% of landscape architects agreed on the problem they face to implement open space policy is because of the land availability. And of course, financial is the main problem faced by landscape architects in implementing open space policy, which related to the current economic factor. So the third result is based on the third objective, which is to suggest practical solution for the purpose of open space policy in future implementation. So there are 80% of landscape architects agree on the new policy, which is to enhance the existing policy and then to have a landscape law and a landscape architect act. Ladies and gentlemen and all webinar audience, we have reached to the end of our session. So in the conclusion part, it is recommended that the importance of open space policy should be addressed to the authorities level as well as developers, landscape professions like landscape architect and related body need comprehensive actions on related act, law and efficient policies regarding open space provisions. Therefore, the difficulties on implementing open space policy by landscape architect can be reduced by considering on the importance of open space provision. Before ending this session, I would like to quote a recent speech from Puan Hajah Rotina Mohammad Daik, the Director General of National Landscape Department of Malaysia. She said that park also add a value to neighborhood. Park also provide a cooler environment and softening the concrete landscape. So that's all from me, Muhammad Zulikrami bin Muhammad Jafri. Assalamualaikum.